Welcome back, everyone. This is still Maria Karekla, a director for Arendt Investor Services, and here I am with Mr. Graham Willcox, a TA operation in Luxembourg in BNY. And we're here, Graham, to talk about investor communication.
Good afternoon, Maria. It's good to be here. And yes, looking forward to having a good conversation on investor communications.
So why are we actually talking about investor communication? We have been discussing throughout all of this episode that the transfer agent is actually the bridge between the fund and the investors. So is it all about communication, and how important is the communication between the fund and the investor throughout the life cycle of the business operation? We're here to discuss this, and actually, what is the role of the transfer agent in the communication between the investors and the fund, Graham?
So, Maria, that's a great question. And I think there's two words that can describe the role, and that will be a vital link. So the transfer agents serve as that all-important link between the funds and their investors. So to give you an example, in any given year, a TA can process thousands of stock certificate transfers. It can handle numerous inbound calls from clients and investors alike. And each one of those communications requires a timely and, very importantly, accurate response. So what we need to do, going back to conversations you previously had, if we have a clean shareholder register, think of the conversation you had previously, that serves as a great base to have consistent communication, and it can reduce inquiry deadlines as well. So today, I think our conversation should involve, we can talk about how communication will build trust, ensure regulatory compliance, and hopefully lead to the investor and client experience that we're looking for.
That's very great to summarize the role of the TA. So what are the main areas of communication, Graham?
So I always think of three areas of communication. That's not to say that there might be more, but I'll give you three areas I think of. Firstly is investor liaison. So this is thinking how the TA communicates with the investor, how they issue and cancel certificates, and maintain the shareholder record. The second area is thinking about regulatory compliance. So the communication we have with our regulators. So here in Luxembourg, the CSSF, but it could be in other jurisdictions, the local regulator, and making sure we adhere to their deadlines and their formats. And then probably last, but certainly not least, is the client and investor service. So handling inquiries, facilitating the corporate actions such as dividends and splits. And that's all important because investors need accurate and timely communication all the time to make their own investment decisions and, of course, meet their obligations, for example, their tax obligations.
If you allow me, just a question on these main areas. So actually, an investor can call the TA and ask whatever they want, or they can email. How can investors reach out to funds or make inquiries or requests directed to the fund or to the board of directors?
So they can do it a number of ways, Maria. And later on in the conversation, I think we'll evolve into talking about digital communication and electronic communication, in addition to standard forms of communication, such as picking up a telephone or sending an email. A number of developments we're seeing in the industry right now is a lot of the management companies, in conjunction with the TAs, are creating their own investor portals. So to provide a direct link that could be used from a mobile phone, an iPad, or any other electronic form to communicate with the TA. So there's a number of forms, yes. And hopefully later we can give a case
on the
practical side of it. Yeah.
Perfect. And there is a communication between CSSF, the TA is dealing and is handling requests from local regulators and especially CSSF.
Absolutely. So the CSSF is what I call, and this is a positive expression, an intrusive regulator. So we've moved away from the days of regulation with a light touch. The CSSF proactively asks questions and challenges. And as an organisation, we welcome that. We welcome their intervention, and indeed have a good relationship with the CSSF. But they hold us to account and they make sure we deliver. So therefore, our clients and our investors alike are protected.
Perfect. So, Graham, what does a regular communication look like? Can you walk us through, please?
Yes, absolutely. So some examples of regular communication: you have fund performance reports. They come out possibly monthly, quarterly. In some cases now our clients are demanding daily reports. What would this be? It would be, for example, NAV movements, net flows, expense ratios. So, for example, quite often we will distribute a one-page summary showing the NAV gain or loss over a given period, give some fund commentary, and talk about the top holdings. And we'll publish this certainly daily, in some cases, if not weekly, to our clients. Also, it could be annual financial statements, tax documents. So in the US, the IRS are particularly specific that they want their 1099-B forms submitted on a regular basis. It might be AGM packages for the annual general meetings. So we'll send out the meeting notice, the agent proxy card, the proxy statement. So it could look like that as well. And the underlying important thing, Maria, as you know, is this has all got to be accurate, it's got to be detailed, and it's got to be timely as well. So we have to make sure that our investors and clients alike have this information in the method they want it, when they want it.
Perfect. So let's take one of this communication that you mentioned. Let's take the AGM package. I know that the AGM and actually the annual account is what the investors are looking for every year, and to look the results. I mean, this is why the investors, they're invested there to see if the business is going well or not. So the TA, how does the TA orchestrate the AGM notification and the annual reports towards the investors so they reach them timely, so they can vote, they can be present in the AGM, and by AGM for the new in the business annual general meeting is where the investors, it's the time of the year that they can actually audit and check the members of the board if they have done as the constitutive documentation promised them. So.
Yeah, I mean, Marie, you've nailed it. The AGM is probably one of the most, if not the most important date in the management company's calendar. To your point, this is when they have a chance to demonstrate to their investors how they've performed over the year. So for the TA, our role is first and foremost to draft and distribute the AGM notice, because if nobody knows where to go and when to go, the AGM's not going to be very successful, and it's our job to make sure it's a success. Then we've got to make sure that our record dates are appropriate. So we've got a complete list of your eligible shareholders in the fund, so we know we're contacting the right people. So we've got the date and the time right, we've got the audience right. Then we need to communicate with them. Now, this changes from place to place and jurisdiction to jurisdiction, but normally we can mail or email notices of the AGM, and quite often we have a specific time frame per regulatory requirements that we must give that notice for. Then we've got to provide documents. So it could be, for example, material, proxy material for preparation, potentially collection as well. We might have to customize those proxy cards with names, with shareholder registration numbers. Then we have to have the options for voting. Are you voting for? Are you voting against? Or indeed, is someone going to abstain? And lastly, and most importantly, there's the report delivery as well. So along with the AGM, there's a written report that the Manco will publish, and we've got to make sure that gets to the right investors at the right time. And sometimes there's some additional information as well. It could be audited financials, it could be management discussion and analysis of the performance of the fund from the press or from other sources, and potentially an auditor's report as well.
So let's say the TA managed to send out the AGM notification, the annual reports, the proxies. I guess now the TA is expecting some response from the investors. As you said, the proxies. We need to, the investors needs to take all of this package. They need to review the annual accounts, and they need to really respond either if they are present, if they will be present in the AGM meeting, or they are coming with their proxies, or they're giving their authority. I guess there is a specific term for this. Can you please explain what scrutiny services in the AGM package involves, entails, and what does this mean?
Yes, absolutely. So scrutiny services, which you're right, is a very classical English term to say the least. This is very, very important because this is an independent check that the TA will provide on the proxy validation and vote counting. Now, governance varies from jurisdiction to jurisdiction. Sometimes the TA can do this, and sometimes this must be handled independently, if you like, by a firm of auditors or another independent, to make sure there's no collusion between any parties. So that varies. But what do they look for? They're looking for document authentication to make sure the voting cards are genuine voting cards, or the electronic transmission use for voting is genuine as well, to make sure signatures, dates, and shareholder statuses are correct as well, and to make sure that the whole process is as smooth as possible. So quite often the TA will have to testify that they've scrutinized the whole AGM. They're confident and they can attest to auditors and the investors that the AGM has been conducted in a correct and proper form. I mean, so sometimes what could this feel like? This could look like the TA saying, and this is put very simply, Maria, I'm oversimplifying here, but perhaps to help the listeners, we looked at 4,500 paper proxies, we verified the signatures, the dates, and we also found an additional 1,200 that came via secure digital certificates. Therefore, we're confident we can say to the Manco and the investors that we've handled everything appropriately, securely, and per regulation.
And supposedly that a quorum has been reached, so we can move on with the AGM. So
that's right. Yes, we can. And then we can look back at the AGM. So we can say, for example, there were 8,700 votes. There were 1,100 votes against, 50 abstentions, and how many votes there were for. And from the start of the vote to the end of the vote, it took 35 minutes, which tells us that we all voted on time and in the right place. And all of this, obviously, you have to have an audit trail. It has to be time-stamped. It has to be delivered in total, accurate, and verifiable, I can't get my words out, verifiable form, yes, as well.
So I can understand that for the AGM procedure, the TA plays a significant role on the success of this again communication.
Absolutely, yes.
So if we are about to say, and I'm coming back, Graham, can you please help me how the TA can ensure an effective communication, not only on the AGM package, but in general, please?
So in general, I think that the basis here that communication has got to be effective, because effective communication will build trust, and it reduces inquiries and reduces doubt in the investor's mind. And it's so important for the Manco that the TA helps build as much confidence in the Manco as possible, not in the investment decisions, that's the Manco's job, but actually in the operation of the fund itself. So I think some of the key tenets of effective communication are transparency. So we've got to provide full disclosures at all times. What are our fees? Are there any conflict of interest? Are there any material events? So, for example, let's say there's a fund merger that's under consideration. we need to notify the investors. They probably need to be notified, say, 60, 90 days in advance of the fund merger, so they can think of their point of view, and then communicate that point of view. So transparency is very important. Credibility is important as well, as we've just said, that if you've got great data or solid data to start with, you can reconcile all your positions. That builds credibility, and communication helps here. Use standard templates to report to investors. That avoids inconsistency. Another tenet, I think, is accessibility. So how do our investors want to access the Manco via the TA? And certainly in the age we live in, Maria, as you know, it's not just about paper and envelopes and waiting for the postman anymore. Those days are long gone. Yes, print might be important to some investors, but we need to think about email, web, how mobile communication can be regulatory compliant these days. And then think outside of Luxembourg. There's people that speak other languages. There's Chinese investors. There's Greek investors. We need to provide translations for these global investors that want to get involved with our funds as well. And then lastly, and I will leave this one to be the last one, it needs to be consistent. So the TA, certainly BNY, we can incorporate our Manco's brands on our communication. So they see that it's from someone they recognize. They may not recognize the BNY brand because they might not know we're the TA. We can use the same naming conventions and terminology that our clients use as well. And this helps ensure a consistent communication across the board.
What you have described, Graham, is like, in my mind, is like you described the bricks to build a strong bridge between the fund and the investors.
I love that.
As the bricks is transparency, accessibility, credibility, and consistency. I really like how you summarize this effective communication, and this is something that young professionals needs to be really aware. But for these bricks, you promised to discuss with me about the digital and the digital aspect of this communication and the various channel of communication. Can we please touch this point? Is it time to discuss the point of the digitalization and the various channel of communication?
Absolutely. So, as we said, we've moved away from paper now. That's a very outdated form of communication, and the TA can help in various aspects here. So we can send emails and e-bulletins, which again is not particularly up to date at the moment, and we can send communications by secure means, FTP, or even we can set up a website. So, for example, BNY has a fantastic investor communication portal that we can share with our clients, and we can put our logo on that, or we can leave the client's logo on that, whichever they prefer. But I think now we're moving forward even more. Some of our clients want to put out messages using WhatsApp, using Instagram, and using TikTok, which are all terms that, frankly, I'd rather leave to my children. But I think as a TA, I can't be old-fashioned. We've got to keep up to date with this with our clients. There's a demand as well for virtual roadshows and webinars as well. So thinking about the conversation we had a bit earlier about the AGMs, they can be handled virtually now. And this digital communication, it brings so many investors and so many advantages to the investors. So, for example, they can have a real-time dashboard. They can look at the performance of the fund when they want to look at it. They can get an up-to-date NAV almost the second the NAV is cut, around about the middle of the working day. They look at their transaction history if they want to. They can examine their tax documents. And some TAs, I understand, are even working if they can submit tax documents and submit other documents online via the portal. And Most importantly, you can secure message on it. So you can message and communicate with your TA. So then reducing the need to call on real life. If you want to, you can have online chats with the TA and get a response, as opposed to calling a contact center and potentially waiting for the call to be taken or not having all the information. You can have a back and forth chat. So this is getting pace, the digital communication now, Maria, and it's so exciting to see how it's developing.
But you can tell that the appetite of the investors is increasing in terms of digitalization.
Absolutely, absolutely. For a number of reasons. I think because obviously, stating the obvious, investors are getting younger, and investors don't want to receive mails. They want to look at TikTok and get a performance. They want to look at social media on their phones when they might be on the bus or out and about. And also with the more international client bases we're seeing, this means people in other parts of the world, in other time zones, can get information the time they want it, not the time that we want to offer it as the TA. So it's democratizing information across the TA, and we love that.
And I guess the TA needs to adjust into the investors' needs rather than the other way around that it used to happen perhaps in the decades, in the previous decade.
Absolutely, yes, yeah. And certainly now I think the next frontier is artificial intelligence, and I think yet to be explored. So we won't delve into it this afternoon, but that's going to be another huge step forward in the way we communicate with our clients and the way they receive information from us.
That's exactly what I was thinking when you said like the investor send a message and the message delivers and come back. So I guess an AI on this messaging is an area that it can be explored and
Absolutely. So at BNY now, we're cleanly exploring AI and what it can bring to the TA space. We're making small steps at the moment, but we have a fantastic foundation to make larger steps as well. So to give a statistic, 98% of BNY staff, so that's 50,000 people across the globe, 98% of those staff are AI trained. So they can use our internal AI, they can build agents, and they can do work internally. We've got to think now how we can give that externally for our clients.
Okay. That's very interesting. I don't want to keep you long. I just want you to give me either an example out of your experience about any incident that happened in terms of investor communication, or if you can summarize best practices or something that a young TA professional entering in the industry now needs, in your humble opinion, to really know or think about when actually exercising the profession.
Sure, that's a great question. And I would say for young people coming into the industry, don't lose your imagination. So what I'm seeing, the young people come into the industry, they have fantastic ideas, nothing's impossible. And then you get to my end of the industry after 30 years where everything seems a bit difficult. So keep that young, open mind coming in, because we need young people's help in how we communicate and how we develop our communication. But then we can't forget the rules as well, okay? So we have to be clear, we have to be accurate, we have to be timely. And whatever the mode of communication, that isn't going to go away. So we've got to think of, within the modern tools we have, how we're going to leverage those tools to deliver that communication, automate it as much as possible, give as much access to the investors as we can, and then perhaps take the thinking one step beyond that. So can we stop producing interaction where we can look at analytics, challenge the manco, even challenge what's going on in the fund, how it have turned out if we'd have weighted it this way, if we'd invested in that share class, and what could have happened. And really the only way we can do that, I think, is by soliciting constant feedback from the investors. So I would say to young people as well coming into the industry, just keep talking to your clients, ask what they want, ask how we can improve all the time. And we can do that lots of ways, by surveys, just by asking, by having conversations. And then obviously don't forget your security, that there's threats out there, cyber threats are ever present out there. So maintain your integrity checks, look at your security checks, make sure you're audited consistently by compliance. externally as well, just to ensure that your portal is 100% safe, whichever way you go.
That was a brilliant discussion. I want to tell you that you, Graham, you gave, I think, out of all of the episodes, you gave the light for the why, and you really give them the reason why young people enter into this profession. So young professionals, they can feel like TA can really fulfill their dreams, and they can start a career by exploring the new communication manners and areas, and how they can be closer to the investors in a new modern and modern time, by always being accurate, timely, and always keeping the security levels up to the standards.
Totally agree, Maria. Yes, it's been a great conversation. I've really enjoyed it.
Thank you so much, Graham.
Thank you. Really, really good. Thank you.